Hey guys, this is God of Politics and welcome back to a brand new video. In this video, I'm going to be doing another election prediction, and this election prediction is going to be for Donald Trump versus Elizabeth Warren. I did an election prediction about a month ago, which I'll put in the cards. You can see that on your phone right now or whatever device you're watching on. But I predicted that Donald Trump would get a victory there, but now we'll see how the result may be different in this election. So we'll start off, as always, by filling out the safe states for the president. South Dakota, North Dakota, Kansas, Oklahoma, Alaska, Utah, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, Indiana, South Carolina, and Missouri. That puts Donald Trump at 125 safe electoral votes. States that are going to go to Donald Trump by a margin of more than 10%. That there really is no chance for Warren to be able to get even close. And now the safe states for Elizabeth Warren, I believe it will be California, Washington, not Oregon, just because of the type of candidate she is, Hawaii, Illinois, New York, Vermont, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, D.C., and that will be it, as well as Maine's 1st district. So that puts Elizabeth Warren at 176 safe electoral votes to Donald Trump's 125 safe electoral votes. So we will start in the Northeast here. I believe that Maine at large will probably go by a lean margin, and then Maine's 2nd district will go by a tilt. Hillary Clinton wasn't as popular here in the Northeast, which is why she lost the Maine 2nd district, which hadn't been lost for a very long time. Even Al Gore and John Kerry were able to win this district. Elizabeth Warren has more popularity being from the Northeast, having more of a coastal vibe. But I don't think that should be able to win Maine's 2nd district, although she will win Maine at large by a lean margin. The seat of New Hampshire, I believe, will go by a lean margin. You could even argue this goes by a likely margin. I believe this, in this case, with New Hampshire being very close for Donald Trump, was kind of just a fluke. I don't believe it's going to be as close this time. I believe it'll probably go by around a 3-point margin. Maybe if it's Elizabeth Warren, it'll be by a bit larger margin because, as I said, it's the Northeast coastal vibe. And that will give Elizabeth Warren 182 right now. State of Virginia, I believe, will go by a tilt margin. There are a lot of establishment Democrats here that I believe would be turned off by Elizabeth Warren's policies, her anti-establishment policies, taking on the big banks, taking on Wall Street, everything like that. And I believe that it still would go to her, but by a very tilt margin. But I don't think that Donald Trump would campaign too much here. And so Elizabeth Warren will win it by a tilt margin. State of North Carolina will go by a lean margin. I think this will be maybe a tad bit closer than in 2016, just because he's not very popular in the state. And there's a Senate election with an unpopular senator. You might see some more votes garnered for Elizabeth Warren over Donald Trump, but it went to Donald Trump by 5%, and I just don't see a 5% swing fully to the Democrats like we saw in the midterms. And I think that it'll go by a lean margin, probably by around 3 to 4 points, 4 points, maybe in a bit larger margin. Going down to the state of Georgia, I believe the state of Georgia will be by a likely margin. You could almost put this as a lean margin, but I believe that right now it will go by a likely margin because Elizabeth Warren does not have support amongst the black vote like Pete Buttigieg, which we'll talk about in a couple of days when I do the election prediction for him. But for in terms of Elizabeth Warren, she does not have as much support from the black community. She has a lot of support from college educated people, especially college educated white people. And the problem with that is already the Democratic voting base. So all of the people that generally vote for the Democrats are college educated white people. And the people that don't turn out as much are generally African Americans, which somebody like Joe Biden would be able to attract more. And then you have the moderate voters that sometimes switch to the Republicans. But Elizabeth Warren, the key voters that she attracts the most are voters that already vote Democratic either way. So she may be garnering votes from them in the primary. When it comes to the general election, I don't think it's going to make much of a difference because especially since she won't be able to turn out black voters, and because of that, Georgia will go by a likely margin. Amongst other states, that's one of the reasons why she will lose some of them. The state of Florida, I believe, will go by a lean margin. If we're looking at the polls here, the most recent polls, you can see that Warren is up by 2 and is completely biased poll. But if we go a bit further down, we can see one from December 31st. We see that Warren is down 9 points to Trump, And really, if you look at that, you think that there isn't much chance at all for Warren to win. In a really Democratic skewed poll, she only wins by 2 points. In a less Democratic skewed poll, she loses by 9 points, which is a huge marginal loss, especially in the state of Florida. Also, other factors: Donald Trump, it's his home state. He's not as unpopular here. He hasn't incumbents haven't lost here since 1924, when Calvin Coolidge lost his state. But at the end of the day, Warren will not be able to win the state of Florida. The state of Texas will also go by a likely margin. It went by around 10 points to Donald Trump over Hillary Clinton, with Hillary Clinton being very unpopular. Obama lost it by about 17, I think it was, to Mitt Romney. Even larger margin, I think, in 2008, maybe something similar to that, during being a wave year for the Democrats. But in terms of the 2020 election, it may be a bit closer, maybe 7 points. But Elizabeth Warren isn't the type of candidate that is going to attract the kind of suburban voters, the suburban white women voters and white men, non-college educated, that Elizabeth Warren needs to win, and any Democratic candidate needs to win to get the votes that they're going to need to win. And especially in the state of Texas, Elizabeth Warren is just not the candidate for that. But as we go down here to the rest of the Sun Belt, New Mexico, I believe, would be likely, and Colorado would be lean. Colorado is less of a blue state than the state of New Mexico. New Mexico is a more blue state. I believe that this may be able to get close purely because of the fact that New Mexico, you have the whole thing with the Native Americans. They may get turned off by a third party, maybe something to do with that, but it'll go by a likely margin anyway. You could argue it might go by a safe margin, but you see Hillary Clinton lost it by 8 points when you had Gary Johnson running, who got 8% of the support, being a former Republican governor from the state of New Mexico. But at the end of the day, it'll go by a likely margin, not much to say about that. The state of Colorado, it used to be more of a swing state than it is now, hasn't had a federal election nationwide election go to the Republicans since Cory Gardner won in 2014, the Republican wave year, and I don't think it's going to go blue again. Even in this case, the Senate election will probably still go blue, but Elizabeth Warren would win the state by a lean margin, in my opinion. The state of Arizona would be by a lean margin. A lot of people point to the trends as a reason that this state could flip blue, and I agree with that. The suburban vote and a bit less the Latina vote is part of the reason that the state is trending blue. People in Maricopa County are becoming more Democratic, and that's tilting the state blue, like you saw with Kyrsten Sinema being able to defeat Martha McSally. But Kyrsten Sinema was a moderate. She sides with Trump more than half the time on key issues. Uh, you could argue against that, but she does vote with Trump a lot, and I believe that Elizabeth Warren not being a moderate, not being from this area, and not being able to garner enough support with the trend and the suburban vote. If you look at let's find where are the latest polls from the state of Arizona. The latest polls have Warren down 2, which actually isn't as bad. You see Biden in a tie, Sanders down by 1. She's only down by 2, which is within the margin of error, but I believe at the end of the day it probably would go, like it said there, by about 2 points to Elizabeth Warren. The state of Nevada, I would also believe, would be a flip. Something to do with the suburban vote. I just don't believe that the non-educated vote, non-college educated vote, would be able to be garnered enough by Elizabeth Warren. Elizabeth Warren has a bit of a coastal elite vibe from her that she wouldn't be able to get the suburbs of Las Vegas to vote for her. I'm not sure if there's any polls here. Let's see. Nevada, I don't think we have. We have one poll from the state of Nevada. We have Warren up by 1. We have Trump up. So we have Trump up by 0.7% from the state of Nevada against Warren, and that is about what I'd put it here as a tilt margin. These polls are from a while ago. They are from, one of them is a new poll, but they are from different times. But I think that at the end of the day, this state could end up being a flip for Donald Trump, just because it was considered a swing state, and it still is a swing state, obviously. And we didn't do this before, but we should do this now. The state of Oregon will be by a likely margin. Now, I should say about this is just not going to vote as much for Elizabeth Warren as it may for another candidate. It's just not as blue of a state as Washington, California. And then we go over to the Rust Belt area over here. Nebraska's second would go likely. It's more of a blue district, but it wouldn't vote for Elizabeth Warren. The state of Iowa would be likely. Also, the state of Ohio would be likely. A lot of people like to point to Trump's bad approval ratings as a reason that the state could go blue, but this state hasn't gone blue since when it went to Obama. It has 1 Republican senator, 1 Democratic senator. Iowa has two Republican senators and 3 out of 4 Democratic congressmen, but that was from a wave year before they were all Democratic, except for 3 out of 4 Republican before 2018. It is a Republican-dominated state. It is a Republican state statewide and nationwide. And although Elizabeth Warren is doing well in the Iowa caucuses, is not representative of the entire state. And although Donald Trump has better approval ratings here, this is Trump country for him. This is the state that he's going to win by likely margins. The state of Minnesota would go by a lean margin. They like candidates. It's a similar state. I think in this case it would be a similar state to maybe Colorado or New Hampshire in terms of the margins, but also in terms of the votes that she will be getting. She will be getting a lot of the city vote, like in Denver here, Minneapolis here, and then a bit of the coastal vote from Elizabeth Warren from New Hampshire. But in Minnesota, she would win it by a lean margin. I think if Donald Trump was not able to win it against Hillary Clinton, she would not win it against Elizabeth Warren. Now for the three Rust Belt states, the three main states Donald Trump flipped. I think Wisconsin will go tilt. Actually, I think Wisconsin would go lean, Michigan would tilt, and Pennsylvania would go lean. I point this out a lot. Michigan is a more blue state, but then Pennsylvania and Wisconsin are a bit more trendy in terms of Republican governors, which is was in the state of Wisconsin until they flipped, and everything related to that. But I think that Elizabeth Warren would not be able to garner enough support from working class voters, and that is the voters that the Democrats need. The Democrats already have the college educated white vote locked down. They have the black vote locked down if they can get a candidate that can turn out those voters. But what they need in terms of not just turning out voters, but attracting voters, is they need a candidate who can attract working class voters. I think that maybe if you get Bernie, maybe Biden, those candidates might do a bit better of a job, maybe even Bloomberg. But if you have a candidate like Elizabeth Warren, I don't think she'd be able to get enough people from these states. And you look at his approval ratings being bad, but they're just as good for Trump, maybe even better than they were for Obama at this point. And although they did get better for Obama, the economy is probably going to stay good. And in this case for Elizabeth Warren, I believe Donald Trump would get a 312 electoral vote. I would call this a landslide to Elizabeth Warren's 226, which would give Donald Trump a second term over Elizabeth Warren. And probably you'd have the Republicans retaining the Senate and the Democrats retaining the House. But in this case, I believe Donald Trump, as I said again, will get 312 electoral votes to Elizabeth Warren's 226. So yeah, hope you all enjoyed this video. Thank you for all watching. Thank you all for watching. Please like and subscribe as always, and I will see you guys later.